Can we stop comparing this to this? Seriously, comparing AEW Fight Forever to WWE 2K23 makes no sense. And I totally understand they are two wrestling games that came out in 2023. Good job. They are rival wrestling companies, so obviously there's a bit of tribalism involved and you want to kind of compare the two products. I get it. I understand that some of you are just trying to be funny. But the dangerous thing is that some of you are serious about laughing at the graphics for this game. And I'm not trying to ride with no license. In this video, I am going to talk about the positives and negatives of this game. I'm not just going to be all positive. This is AEW's first attempt at a game, and they had a very specific idea in mind for what this game was going to be. And that vision was never going to end up in a game that was replicating the 2K series. It's just not where they're at right now. But that doesn't mean AEW Fight Forever can't still be a great game. So simply put, don't compare, just enjoy. If you prefer this style of gameplay, play this game. If you like the look of this, then buy this. It really is that simple. I am so tired of logging onto the timeline and seeing people compare two completely different styles of game. Kind of all of you making these repetitive ass jokes think you're the second coming of Krusty the Clown, but you're not. You just sound lame as hell. And there has been quite a few developments with this game recently, most namely the fact that we finally got a release date. And I've seen that a lot of you have been asking for my opinions on everything that has been coming out about this game recently, given my storied history with this company. I was once upon a time the greatest AEW general manager anyone has ever seen. But overall, I think this game looks really promising at the moment, and dare I even say it could be an all-timer. I don't know, man. I just think it's going to be a lot of fun. See, it's important to remember for context that AEW is still relatively new in the grand scheme of things as a company, and this is their first attempt at a game, so it's not going to be perfect, but they can certainly build on it. Especially considering that we know AEW Fight Forever is not going to be the first of an annual release cycle. They're essentially going to keep building and updating this game, and they're going to continue to support it for the foreseeable future with, you know, adding in superstars at later dates. You know, for example, FTR will not be in the game on launch, but we know that they are going to add in DLC and everything, so they're very much gonna work on this.
I am definitely in the game. You might have to make Serpentico. I don't know if he's in the game, but it is a loaded roster. We covered on the AEW game stream. There's gonna be like, what do we say, like 40, 50 wrestlers at launch, and we're definitely doing some DLC. So at some point, Serpentico will be in the game.
Another thing that I will say about AEW Fight Forever is that they are very heavy on the whole selling point about how it's like No Mercy. Personally, I don't really care about that. Like, it's not a huge selling point for me, mainly because of the generation I come from. Like, I was born, I think, the same year that No Mercy was released. So I'll be honest, I've never played that game, and I don't really, it's not the reason I'm buying the game. If it's why you're buying the game, then that's great, you know? I understand that that's why this game was originally so attractive to most people, because it's like WCW NWO Revenge, it's like No Mercy. And listen, I get it, okay? The arcadey style is very easy to pick up and play. It's just like the good old days. Listen, that's cute, but if you want to sell me on the good old days, then make a game like... And one thing I do really love about that video that Kenny made, or, you know, the release date video, is how apparently AEW Fight Forever will be, quote, hard to master, which is cool. It kind of implies that there's going to be a bit of a skill gap, you know, whether it's online or single player. It'll give you a bit more of a reason to keep replaying the game, which is good. I always talk about replayability with wrestling games, and I'm completely fine with that. I just hope there isn't an extra skill gap in the game where, you know, my internet connection really matters in wrestling games, because boy, have I been there before. Because it's all nice and well having a nice little looking game and it's all polished and everything, but if the online servers can't play ball, then what's the point? And obviously in any kind of combat game, especially a wrestling game though, you kind of need a good connection and good online service so you can get those counter sequences off, you can get those reversals off, and so I hope in AEW Fight Forever that is the kind of thing that they've, you know, focused on, and the servers can kind of handle, you know, the workload, as it were. Moving on to something a bit more positive about AEW Fight Forever, and that is the fact that this game is going to have over 40 weapons, which is great. They also went ahead and confirmed that AEW Fight Forever will be on Nintendo Switch, it'll be on Xbox, PlayStation 4 and 5, PC. It's gonna be pretty much everywhere that you could play the game. And I personally am very excited for AEW Fight Forever because it seems like it's gonna be great for content as well, you know, collaborations with other YouTubers and streamers and everything, just having a quick match here and there with your friends. Collabs are gonna go crazy, okay? With the amount of different match types and everything you have, you know, you got unsanctioned matches, you got lights out, exploding barbed wire death matches, you got a casino battle royal, there's a ton of stuff. For as much as it may not be a selling point for me, you know, with the arcadey style and the pick up and play stuff, that's not why I'm buying the game specifically with the no mercy and everything. It does seem like it's going to be a really great game for that kind of thing in their defense. Also, one thing that I do want to go ahead and touch on is the fact that when it comes to the gameplay we saw, like, you know, ages ago, and the gameplay we've kind of seen across the life cycle of this game, or at least on the road to the game, even the gameplay we saw about 5 or 6 months ago looked relatively polished, but now, you know, you take the next 6 months of the life cycle up until the release of the game next month, this game is going to be really clean, and the gameplay we saw 5 months ago already looked great, so I can only imagine how much it came in this final, you know, rush towards the release date. And so that is pretty exciting. Like, if it looked good 6 months ago, then imagine how it's going to look right now. Now let's talk about the roster and the arenas as well. Now, I'm actually not going to touch on the arenas or the roster today. I'm going to save my thoughts on all of that when we've actually got an official roster reveal. One thing that I do want to talk about that is kind of a red flag would be the entrances in this game. Obviously, you know, you can see, you know, we were a bit worried originally when this game was kind of circulating the first bit of gameplay about how short the entrances were, and we were kind of like, okay, maybe, you know, it'll be developed and we'll get full entrances by the time the game comes out. By all indicators, it seems like it's going to be shorter entrances regardless. Don't get me wrong, that is a bit disappointing, you know, and I understand why people are angry about that, but at the same time, I would love entrances for every single AEW star in this game, and, you know, maybe that's something they can expand upon in future games, or, you know, update this one to go accordingly with such a thing. But at the same time, this is more of an arcadey pick up and play kind of game, so I'm fine with it not being full simulation entrance style, because it isn't 2K and it's important to remember that. Now, do the models look as good as they could? No, of course not. Is this going to be 2K levels of graphics? No. Is this really a thing that matters? Also no. And I really only touch on the graphics briefly for the game because it's a thing that a lot of people care about. As you guys know, I say it every time I talk about a wrestling game, I don't care about graphics in anything. I'm out here right now replaying Pokemon Emerald, okay? Literally just an hour ago, I was playing GTA Vice City Stories, okay? That game looks terrible, but I'll still play it because I don't care. It's about the content that is in the game, and I'll die on that hill. It's about how fun a game is. It's about the replayability. I don't care what a game looks like. It doesn't matter. It's what's on the inside that counts. Also, to touch on a couple more things, we've got career mode in this game, which via the achievements that got released, I'm not too sure if career mode is called Road to Elite or not, but there are achievements that kind of hint at there being a Road to Elite mode, which is going to be interesting to see what that is. Also, AEW games themselves have very much reassured us that blood is insane in this game. Don't worry about that if you enjoy that kind of thing. If you enjoy the violence that AEW brings and the true AEW energy, don't worry, we've got that. We've got intergender matches, we've got all those match types I mentioned earlier, community creations, and DLC. Now, DLC has been pretty much confirmed by Nyla Rose herself, and when it comes to community creations, in that clip with Nyla Rose, she hints at, you know, that there's obviously an ability to create your own superstar in the game, and you can create, you know, wrestlers from AEW that aren't in the game, and that's great. Whether or not we can actually upload these for other people to download, we will have to wait and see. You know, there's still a month until the game comes out, so you never know. It could be one of those things where maybe right now they're putting the final polishing touches on community creations, or whatever it would be called in AEW Fight Forever. Either way, it is a very exciting time for this game right now, because not only did we just get a release date, but there's a bunch of YouTubers out in Vegas right now that are about to play this game. And so in the coming weeks, regardless, in the coming days, as we head into Double or Nothing, we're going to be getting a bunch more news for this game, a bunch more footage of the menus and everything that is AEW, the roster, so it's all going to be coming out in, you know, the next week or so. I do think it has all the potential in the world to be an old-timer wrestling game, especially, you know, with how they treat it post-launch. In WWE 2K23 and AEW Fight Forever, both of them have one thing in common, and his name is Cody Rhodes. And man, does that put adrenaline in my soul.